if before you have the deed in your hand, if you can get into the property, like a lot of times, especially tax sales, they're vacant, you can break into them, whatever. Yeah. When you got the deed, even before you have the deed in your hand, if it's going to take you 2 months to get the deed and you can get into the property and it's sitting there vacant, it's to your advantage to, even though it's technically illegal, to get in there, secure the property.
It's still, it's still a felony.
No,
it's still a felony.
So by securing, you're saying you change the padlock.
Isn't that right,
You
Brian?
change the door locks.
Change the locks, make sure nobody's getting in there. I mean, you know.
Felony, okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Well, I mean, to be honest, when it comes to the tax sale part, very common to be, you know, trying to break into the properties before the tax auction. So if it's possible to get in, you know, and they're obviously vacant, people get in.
But if someone's squatting there, you have to wait until you have the deed in your hand.
Well, yeah, they're going to call the police, and then you're definitely going to get arrested.
Yeah.
You're unlikely to get arrested into a house where somebody, like with a tax sale, when you go around looking at some of the houses. Well, there's other people researching these too, so you'll likely find that somebody already busted the door open and you just walk in. Yeah. So, and that's not uncommon. So you're not likely to get caught when you're walking into a house that the door is already busted in, provided you do it at times of the day where you're not likely to be seen. So, you know, to be honest, it'll be early in the morning. It's beautiful this time of year, you know, because 5:30 in the morning it's light out. But there's nobody, none of the neighbors are up. And if the door's already busted open, you're just walking in, you check it out, you're in and out in 5-10 minutes. You know, nobody's the wiser, you know, but that's common.
Yeah, don't show up with a black mask on. Don't show up like with tools in your hand. Right.
Yeah, that's technically not breaking and entering either.
Well, you're entering. You're just technically not breaking, although, you know, the door is already busted open. So it is what it is. So, don't get caught. Do it at times that, you don't want to be going at, 10 o'clock at night with a flashlight where neighbors are going to see the flashlight flashing in the house and they're going to be calling, you know what I mean? And you don't want to do it in the middle of the afternoon, 6 o'clock in the afternoon when everybody's walking their dog up and down the street. You don't want to put your shoulder to the front door. But like I said, if you go early in the morning, and especially a lot of times, doors already busted in, windows open, whatever it is, other people are breaking in. So a lot of times you can walk in and see. But once you have the deed, if you can get in reasonably, I'm not going to say I'm recommending it, but it's, not uncommon. People will want to secure the property. Yeah. Because you don't want it sitting there for 2 months hanging out there, because that's your your asset, and somebody steals all the copper out of it, and you're the one on the hook. Sheriff isn't giving you anything. You can go and you can go and try to get your money back, but I don't think you're getting your money back. They're not guaranteeing anything. It just says as is. I don't know why it quite takes them as long as it does.
I was gonna say, you think they'd accommodate something there, because to prevent you from possibly getting charged with a felony for bringing into something technically you own.
Well, if somebody, I think a lawyer could get you out of it.
Probably.
Well, technically, you don't own it in its entirety. But I would make the argument, if I was a lawyer, that once you've paid your money, you have what's called equitable title. So you actually have interest in the property. And this comes into play even when you're buying a property conventionally. Let's just say you're buying a piece of land. You want to buy a piece of land next door, and you're buying it from me, and you want to build on it, but maybe the lot's a little bit too small, like to meet all the zoning requirements. So you're going to take and sign a contract with me, but it's going to be contingent upon getting zoning approval to do the building that you want. When you go to the zoning people, you're making an application to get approval as if you're the owner. And I would presume that they hear that because you have what's called equitable title. You have an interest in the house, and that you can take ownership of it no matter what anybody else wants. As long as you follow what you're promising in the contract, you're going to end up with the deed. Nobody else can stop it. Once I've signed the contract with you, as long as you show up with the money, I can't say no anymore. Like if I said no, I don't want to sell it anymore, you can take me to court and sue me for specific performance and make me sell it. So that's kind of where equitable title comes in. And I would make the claim that you're not really breaking into the property just because you didn't have the deed, because once you paid it, they don't have the right to not give you the deed. You have equitable title. So I would think a lawyer could get you out of being in deep trouble at that point. But I'm not a lawyer, so I can't say that with any certainty.
You're a GoPro.
Yes.
Do you do anything like that personally? Like, just I'm personally asking, do you do anything like this? No.
Now, I haven't. If I knew I was going to be in a contentious situation like that, I probably would consider that, or I would consider bringing someone with me as a witness or to video, something like that.
That's what I meant. Some sort of witness, whether it's video or.
Yep. Yeah, I haven't had occasion to do it. Even with my tenants, I'm pretty straightforward and don't end up with contentious situations. Did you have a question? It looked like you had a question. Oh, okay. All right.
Why do you think they drag their feet so long?
I don't. Well, in part, I think it's with the sheriff's sale. It isn't. I don't want to say it isn't terrible. I think it's partially because of the numbers. So they're selling off so many properties, and they just kind of have it geared, towards this 2-month time frame. I honestly think they could get it done in 2 or 3 weeks, but the people probably handling it are handling other things, and they don't prioritize it, and that's just their normal cycle. There's processes that are longer, and we'll get into that when we talk about the tax sale. The tax sale process, the very end of it, there's a way to buy that it takes almost a year. But we'll get to that. But that's pretty much sheriff sales. Any question about how the sheriff sale itself works? All right, so
I have a question for the actual site that you go on. So there could be it looks like there's, I don't know, 40 different M&T versus John Doe on there. But when you look at the map for what's actually going to be for sale, it might be like a quarter of that. At least that's what it feels like when I'm on the site.
I don't know what you mean. So there's, when you go to the sheriff's sale website, it's going to have listings for every property.
Yeah.
And you're saying you look up.
There's a map on there that you can look up. There's green means they were sold, I believe, and there's red.
I don't think I've ever looked at the map that you're talking about. What I typically do is, I will take the PIN number or the address, and the county has a pretty good GIS mapping website where you can go and plug in the PIN number, or just drill down and find it if you want to just move around the map and find a property. And you can find where it's located that way.
Oh, that's way easier.
Oh, it is. It's and the site's pretty good.
To do that. Yeah, I do that every day.
Yeah, it's convenient. I would, absolutely, make sure you're looking at the right property, because I almost bought the wrong property once.
That happened in California. $2.4 million. The address, the parcel was the front lawn on this side of the sidewalk. No. They bought a little 2x5 piece of grass. And they thought it was the mansion in the back. Yeah, the parcel number, because all the parcel numbers are lined up on the map.
I remember reading something about
yeah, it's all new map. All the numbers line up, all the ones, and this lot would be all the twos. And they missed it. They missed it by one number, and it went to auction. And 10 people were bidding on it, and the starting bid was $10, and it went all the way up to $2.4 million. God.
Yeah. In my case, what threw me off was the assessment information. I actually have a subscription to, or access to a subscription to Courthouse Online, which is more detailed assessment information. Like you can go out to Times Leader or whatever, and they have a way to search assessment records. But with Courthouse Online, you can get a little more detail, a little easier to search. But it also has pictures of the property, because they'll take pictures periodically. They'll have them from 2008 or maybe 2015, whatever. So when I looked at the property I was interested in, I looked at the picture and I'm like, oh, okay, I know which one it is. And I went and I looked at it, and I even pulled the deed, and I looked at the shape, and I looked at what it was. Yeah, turns out they just had a picture of the wrong property. It was actually a property 2 doors down. And the reason I think they had the wrong picture is the property that was on the sale was so buried in the weeds nobody could see it. It was only 2 or 3 doors down. And I had even gotten to the point of I actually took the deed. You can, if you ever look at a deed, the legal description in Pennsylvania is what's called meets and bounds. So they give you a point of beginning and then tell you go northwest X amount degrees this, and go this direction X number of feet, and then you go to the next point, and it takes you around the whole perimeter. You can actually find websites where if you take the deed and plug in all of that, it will actually map out the shape for you. I even did that, and it was It was the same shape as the one couple doors down, so it didn't help me. The only reason that I caught it before I got myself in deep is, as an agent, I also look at the MLS, and the property had been for sale a few years prior, and they had a picture of the property of I forget which property it was. It was of the property, but it looked like it was from the back. It didn't match up. And I'm like, oh, this is not right. I know this is the property because, I can see it was the right one that was for sale. And it ain't this picture. And then I started looking around the neighborhood. I walked and you couldn't see the house until you were within, 10, 15 feet of it because it was just so buried. But yeah, it kept me from getting into trouble. All right. Any more questions about just the process of buying? All right. So we covered that. We covered title issues. So what would happen, like if you buy a property, how do you handle some of these issues? So we mentioned things like state taxes. Another common thing, and this covers both tax sales and sheriff sales, notification. And especially I know in tax sales, they're required to notify interested parties about the sale. And sometimes they don't do it perfectly, and that leaves a cloud on the title. So if you were a prior owner, I want to say with a tax sale, they actually have to, if you lived in the house, they have to notify you in person. They have to serve you. And if they can't find you, they don't serve you. And after a period of time, they're just going to put it up for sale whether they can find you or not. So that leaves a cloud on the title because maybe you didn't know about the sale. You could come back and say, hey, you auctioned that property off. You never told me about it. That could happen. That's a cloud on the title. Or they could have served somebody at the improper address. It might be